Why does the world seem so cold? On a face-to-face level, all humans I know are good and warm-hearted. They would never initiate violence against another. We care and cooperate naturally without being prodded to do so. The vast majority of people all over the world are just like you and me. Yet, when we tune into any propaganda channel, we are presented with a deformed narrative of wretched humanity. We are told to compete, fight, and judge one another, instead of living with the instinctual respect and empathy for each other. An opposing vision of human nature has been foisted upon us relentlessly for generations. In fact, conflict and division have been promoted throughout history to implement an even more centralized, oppressive system of control. Because if we accept that we are inherently bad, we'll also accept the big brother. Financial, social, and psychological manipulation has been used to draw humanity further into struggle, despair, and mob mentality. Ultimately, with our induced consent, the state will control everything. And we will depend on the state for every single thing. We need to snap out of this apathetic malaise and reject the fake narrative of lowered expectations. Living on false beliefs has created a feedback loop where inauthentic decisions permeate and further degrade our natural humanity. Psychological manipulation can change our emotions, thoughts, behaviors, perceptions, and subjective experience. It's been studied and practiced for thousands of years. Today, it is refined to be nearly invisible, but pervasive in all that's seen and heard. In one method of subconscious coercion, we are exposed to words, images, colors, and sounds that cause prolonged internal stress to accumulate and eventually break our will, instilling robotic obedience. Stimuli overload could come from news, music, movies, and video games. We may not consciously perceive it, but over time, the chronic sensory exhaustion will inhibit our faculties to focus, desire, act, and interact. Luckily, subliminal overstimulation can be turned off by being aware of its existence. We must identify its sources and eliminate them from our daily lives. Another subtle method of mind conditioning consists of providing selective information with carefully chosen language and imagery to arouse a specific emotional or logical response. With urgent and dramatic delivery, they get our attention. In the same breath, a predetermined reaction and remedy is conveniently included. Presenters' body language, acting skills, and wordplay are all on full display. To appeal to reason, words like common sense, smart, balanced, obvious choice, reasonable regulation, or consensus of expert opinion are repeated ad nauseum. Even whole storylines could be made up or real stories omitted to steer the audience. This occurs in news, entertainment, books, and education. For example, let's look at recently championed phrase, balance between privacy and security, where the word balance is used to pit two ideas in an inverse or opposing relationship to suggest that as privacy decreases, security increases. In reality, privacy and security only exist in a direct or equal relationship, because one must have privacy to feel secure. Having personal thoughts is the most private human freedom we possess. When our ideas, opinions, or the most intimate conversations meant for those we know and trust are recorded for a government, many will feel that privacy and security are being violated. As a result, people will limit their own free speech. This is a secondary chilling effect on our unalienable right to self-expression. So here you see how a clever game with the word balance can distort our first impression of an important issue. Another technique worth mentioning is that of misdirection, where our attention is either turned away from the truth or limited to one small aspect of the truth. We see this done when looking into unsolved crimes, scientific research, or matters of high secrecy. There will be a vocal person or organization claiming to represent a movement for truth, but in reality, leading its followers to false conclusions. The gatekeepers establish these dead-end rabbit holes to confine truth seekers and get free publicity, to cast a wider net on anyone with questions. Examples of this include 9/11, cancer cures, and free energy. Lastly, targeted campaigns on anyone actually telling the truth may include planting false media stories, undermining reputations, vilifying, smearing, intimidating, or even neutralizing them. So when everything important that we thought we knew turns out to be a well-calculated lie, we have to wake up and refuse to remain as pawns in a game, because their scripts are now old and predictable. All just sequels and remakes, and all very bad. A system of perception control is more powerful and efficient than theft and violence, because people, under false pretenses, will limit their own freedom. When faced with new information, we must go to the source, establish basic facts, and never accept conclusions that are unsupported by evidence. When faced with a decision, we must understand its consequences and know that morality is not relative. Our discernment must be based on the fact that truth should naturally lead to freedom. What I mean by this is that deep down, under all the acquired bad habits, customs, norms, and beliefs, each of us has the same innate ability to know right from wrong. At any moment, when given a choice, the only thing that really matters is to do what we know to be right, because it is the only thing that will ever matter. Wielding this wisdom effectively to cope with reality, we regain control over the self, a basic prerequisite of freedom. Only then we will see humanity for what it truly is, unencumbered. Knowing our nature from within rather than from without will reveal our true fiber and bring us that much closer to understanding the essence of our Creator.